get the Finance Committee started. All committee members are present, as well as additional other council members and the mayor. This is a discussion of ordinance 2023-24 supplemental appropriations. This primarily deals with increases in income tax refunds, as well as some changes to various appropriations, in particular the TIF money for the yard, and there's less hotel tax going to Destination Grandview. That's what Director Miller, I'm going to let you go ahead and just go through the whole thing, and she did pass out a handout of details on the aspects of this.
Yes, so I provided a spreadsheet with all the details by line item. I'll kind of just go down through it just to show you. This is the more of the breakdown. They kind of roll up when you put them in their actual budgetary accounts for the supplemental, for the actual ordinance. So the first line item, we need an additional 10 grand for the 911 line. AT&T doubled our monthly fee. We didn't really have any control because it all is intertwined in with City of Columbus. So Brian Lee has worked with AT&T and Columbus to get some new lines put in and to reduce our fee. But until that's all taken care of, we need an additional $10,000. The next line item is $35,000 for funds to support the First and Grandview Avenue area planning. That's going to start before year end. Originally, it was going to be in next year's budget, but because we had some extra salary and related money due to some resignations and some positions that haven't been filled yet, we thought we would start that this year, so it's offset. So the administration ends up with a negative $15,000. The next line item is income tax refunds. We budgeted $380,000 from the general fund, so that's 95% of the total. We're already at over $500,000, so this amount, this $432,000, should be more than enough to cover us for the rest of the year. And those are primarily related to work from home in 2021 and 2022. So the people would have had funds withheld from their checks, but they may have been working from home or working in a township. So those, a lot of these refunds are relating to that. Then the next line is 15 grand for, it's related to the pool. The electric account we found wasn't on the consortium rate, so we've got that put on the consortium rate. And then there were just a lot of equipment malfunctions this year. I think they had boiler issues, they had all kinds of electrical issues, so we needed another 15 grand, and that's related to the pool. So for the general fund, the total is $432,000, which really equates to your income tax refunds. The rest of them all covered each other. The next line is the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're going to reduce the appropriations from $145,000 to $135,000, and this is because hotel tax just isn't quite coming in as high as we were hoping, and they're aware of that. The next one is the Grandview Yard TIF Fund. I did a second page that is about the TIF fund that kind of shows, so these accounts, this represents both the distribution of the pilots and the distribution of income tax to the trustee. So the trustee, because of our new agreement, is going to be lower, but the pilots came in higher, which is good because that gets distributed to the school district and to the bonds. And so the net effect is basically a reduction of appropriations of $173,000. And then debt service, we had budgeted for the South of Goodale OPWC debt service expenses. That project's not quite closed out. We still have punch list items, so I'm just taking that out of the budget because we don't have to pay it in 2023. And actually, it'll end up being paid by the TIF in future years because of the new agreement. Then the last item is income tax refunds. This is the 5% share that's paid from Fund 350. So our grand total is $189,132. On page 2 for the TIF fund expenses, this shows you how I look at it. I come up with, the county doesn't give us projections for pilots. They do property taxes, but we have to calculate ourselves what we think the pilots might be. So I estimate it every year, and then the amount we receive has to all be distributed out. So it either goes to the school or the library or the bonds, and then we also have county auditor and treasurer fees and county refunds that go back to whoever needs a property tax related refund. So this is just balancing that out. The first column is the original budget, so that's what we estimated. The second column is the updated budget based on what we know as of today. And you can see we need an additional $438,000 for pilot distribution, but a negative $611,000 for income tax to trustee. So that gets you the $173,000. Are there any questions?
Mr. President,
Yes.
Chair, can I ask Finance Director just one question?
Yeah.
What's the look back on statute of limitations on income tax refunds? How far back can people go? Is it 3 years or is it longer?
I think they did 3 years. There is the case pending for the 2020.
I forget what that says, but okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And that's about, what we know of that is we have 85,000 out there that people have applied for 2020 that Rita's just holding.
And we don't have any way to verify whether there's more out there for those
Right.
3 years.
It is possible once the lawsuit's settled, if it's in favor of the taxpayers, then there could be additional people that would apply for refunds.
And what did you say regarding the OPWC?
So we had
When will
budgeted,
that be to be paid?
that's hard,
Um,
because these road construction projects, like, they can have little things outstanding, and until the engineers are happy and everybody's happy, you can't close out the project. There's still a little money left on it. This is the south of Goodale. So we don't wanna quite close out the project until we know that all the expenses are done. So we should be pretty close. I know EP Ferris was supposed to be out there the past couple of months, kind of going through all the punch list items, but those projects seem to take a while to get closed out. But fortunately with this one, payments should start being due next year, and then it'll be covered by pilots.
Yeah, okay. Any questions from committee members? Councilor Houston, go ahead.
Not a committee member, but would you repeat the hotel, reduction or savings and then
Yes.
Income tax to trustee again, just the explanations of those?
Yes, so hotel tax for Destination Grandview, we had budgeted $145,000 to them. So they get basically 25% of the city's hotel tax has to go to a Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Yep.
Our revenue isn't coming in quite high enough, so we have to reduce it to $135,000. And then the income tax to trustee, that's where we came to the new agreement with NRI that for 2023 and 2024, the city will send 20%
That's right.
instead of the 55%.
Got it, thank you.
So the overall net is the 189, 132 with all the various reductions and then the increased
Exactly.
funding.
Yep.
Okay.
Chair Smith, if I might ask a question.
Sure.
So when we're talking about the refunds, do you have a good way of estimating a budget for that
No.
next year?
Typically in the past, we would kind of, it would be around 2% or something like that, so we would kind of just base it on history. Right now, we're thinking for next year, I think this year will be between 700,000 and 800,000. I think we're gonna plan on budget next year 700,000. Because we think that, some of this is gonna continue. We think employers are still withholding possibly.
Right, so how does that work? I mean, is it the employer, it's the employer's responsibility to essentially suss out that where the employee is working and how the how that is happening, correct? And it's just taking time to catch up
Right, yeah, and it's harder for some employers, you know, there's varying levels of complexity in payroll systems and different people doing payroll and how much they understand municipal income tax and limitations of payroll systems. It can be hard. I know a lot of like larger companies have been able to say, you know, you're in the office 3 days a week, so we're gonna withhold based on that. And yeah, and I think maybe as time goes forward, people will get better with those systems and hopefully it won't be that high next year, but I think we need to be safe and budget a high number, at least for a few years.
And then just separately, is the $35,000 for the first in Grandview Avenue planning, what are those dollars for? Is that for outside support or? Okay.
Yeah, that would be for consulting.
Okay.
So with this net increase in supplemental, again, with the reserve, there's no fiscal.
No, all the funds can handle these changes.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone else? If not, I would recommend approval to council.
So moved. Second.
Okay, you moved and then, Councilmember Kozak seconded, all in favor? Aye. If nothing else, we will adjourn.